Here in Frederick, we encourage walkers and bikers to travel without automobiles on an expanding network of paths that allow pedestrians and bicyclists to get around the city.
This is a new project that we opened this year. This is connecting the entire west side of town to downtown and sooner or later all the way out to the Monocacy River. This is a huge connection for us, and it's opened up a tremendous amount of use. We've been doing periodic counts over the weekends and have had as many as 70 to 90 people an hour coming through this area on the weekends.
Well, in the community here, I would say I wanted to share with you that we're really thrilled to see now that there is a new crossing going across East Street. And it's now a lot easier to cross the center where the MARC train stations are. So that's fantastic.
There are connecting trails and specially designed features to accommodate all sorts of people who make their way without an automobile, those who may use bicycles, wheelchairs, canes, or service animals.
There are several traffic devices that help people share the road. Those include marked crosswalks, designated bicycle paths, and specific pedestrian crossing signals.
With cyclists, one of the traffic control devices that we use are called sharrows, which are shared lane markings. And they help the cyclist know where he or she is supposed to be on the lane. And it also helps motorists be aware of the fact that this is an area where you will be seeing cyclists. In many of our intersections, we have signalized crossings for pedestrians. So if you're hearing impaired, you can see the crossing controls with your eyes. And in some cases, we have signals that are actually audible as well.
Wait.
A person who is blind and a person who is deaf can navigate many of our crossings throughout the city. And then, of course, for persons in wheelchairs, there are the landing strips, as they call them, at the intersections for where they can feel where they need to stop before going into the street.
The healthful, environmentally positive alternatives to automobiles come with responsibilities just as serious as those for drivers.
Pedestrians and bicyclists are both required to follow the rules of the road, specifically when it comes to traffic control devices. Pedestrians need to understand that they should be crossing at a crosswalk if it is available, and in some cases the law actually requires them to cross at a crosswalk. For bicyclists, they need to be aware that things such as traffic control devices, including one-way streets, all apply to bicyclists the same as it would a motorist. They're also required to ride on the right-hand side of the road with traffic and not against traffic.
Many people may not be aware that when you pass a cyclist, you are supposed to stay at least 3 feet away from the bicycle. And I think that's very important information for everyone to be aware of. Anytime you see a bicycle and you're ready to go past, make sure that you give them at least 3 feet off to the side of the bicycle.
Whether people get around by car, bike, or foot, they need to be aware of their surroundings as they encounter one another.
Some of the biggest mistakes or most common mistakes that I see are inattentiveness while walking or driving, either one. Specifically in an intersection for a driver, if you're making a right-hand turn, you're looking for other vehicular traffic, but sometimes people don't look for that pedestrian that may be crossing while they're crossing on the road that they're trying to turn onto.
Texting, of course. People keep their eyes down and they're really not focusing on the road anymore. So it is important for people to be very aware of what their surroundings are and to keep aware of when a car is coming, when a bicycle is going past, and just to keep your eyes up and know what's going on around you. The most common mistakes that I see with drivers as well as pedestrians is that.
Well, as far as pedestrians are concerned, not crossing in a crosswalk, mid-block crossings are what they're referred to, not obeying the crosswalk when it's controlled. Those are common mistakes, and same thing goes for drivers. They'll roll stop signs and not pay attention to pedestrians and crosswalks. Everyone just needs to follow the rules.
Quiet automobiles obviously take away your ability to hear those vehicles coming, or at least greatly reduce it. This becomes more of a concern if the vehicle's approaching you from behind, specifically on a bicycle where you're riding with traffic. So it is something that you definitely have to be cautious and aware of, and the drivers of those electric vehicles need to be cognizant that their vehicle may not be as readily recognized by other people in the roadway.
Drivers, consider what it is like for the members of the community who have a different way of getting around. Maybe they don't hear or see well, or use a wheelchair. At a busy intersection, they could get passed by a bicycle or a car. They might not hear or see it coming, or might not be able to get out of the way.
The best thing that a driver can do is simply be alert and courteous.
Of course, one of the most common experiences as we're walking on the sidewalks, I would say, is all of a sudden you have a bicyclist that just whizzes past you, and it can be a big surprise for us because we're not going to be able to hear them coming. But I imagine really that's the same thing that happens to people who can hear if a bicyclist comes past quickly. But I think it's really important just to make sure that people are aware of you. Some areas there may be where bicyclists are permitted on the sidewalk, but for the most part, I think bicyclists should stay on the street. Because you have people that make assumptions that they're just walking alone on the sidewalk.
Drivers at an intersection must consider whether someone with mobility issues might enter the crosswalk and need to take longer to cross than the driver anticipated.
Really, when it comes to traffic and pedestrian safety issues, both the hearing community and the deaf community and hard of hearing community and other disability issues, all of us share similar concerns. All of us are residents of the city of Frederick.
Frederick is trying to make room for everyone, its residents and visitors, and wants everyone to feel safe getting around the city using any transportation mode.